Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I just walked about 82 steps, made that long trip to introduce you to someone very important to me. This young man, even though he is a very young man, has had a pretty impressive political career and life in public service. He started out working on other people's campaigns. He just told me his first campaign was for John Ashcroft. Does anybody remember him? So he went from that great success, and I said, so when there? He says, well, then I helped you. Okay, so that wasn't so successful. All right, that was 1992. Next year we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the year that Roy Blunt and I traveled all over the state to be beating the primary together. So it was not a very good year. But I think next year is going to be outstanding, don't you? Yeah. I think we're going to have a terrific year. Now, when Shane called me last week and said, would you introduce me? I said, well, Shane, in my position, you know, I can't endorse candidates. I just don't do that because I'm the umpire for these elections, especially in the primaries. I have friends all over the place. But I am pleased and proud to introduce Shane to you this morning. As I said, as a young man, he already has a pretty impressive record in public service. He was elected Speaker Pro Tem of the House in just his third term in the House. Very impressive. He's already very respected as a fair and honest person and a leader in the House of Representatives. But for me, more importantly, he's from Greene County. And best of all for me, he's a conservative. And he has common sense. Probably a couple of weeks ago, I sent an email out to all the legislators I know, and I said, we need a hero. We need somebody who's going to step into the breach and stop this crazy expenditure of money next year on this presidential primary, wasting several $1 million on a beauty contest. Well, he answered the call, so he's my hero. Okay? He introduced the bill, tried to get it stopped. We didn't accomplish that, but at least he tried. So that's the kind of leadership I expect if he's successful next year. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so pleased and honored to introduce to you my friend, Shane Schoeller.
Well, first of all, what a beautiful day that we've had to make this announcement, and it couldn't be made any better than the fact that my wife Mindy is here, and so everybody give her a big round of applause. Because I think, as you know, that when you get an opportunity to be in public office, the only way that opportunity is successful is if you have your family fully behind you. My mom is out there, my dad is out there, my sister's out there, and so I'm blessed to have each of them here today, and of course my nephews as well. And our children are at school, and our youngest one, Johnny, we thought he might distract from the events today, so he's with somebody in good care. But anyway, you know, as I think about the opportunity to be here today, first of all, I want to thank Richard. I don't know where he went, but I appreciate Richard. And I can remember back in college when I got behind him in his run for Secretary of State, and of course Roy Blunt at that time. I was a sophomore, and kind of just getting an opportunity to learn what Missouri politics is all about. And I think at that time you begin to understand it's about serving the public. It's about ensuring that people have faith in the public institutions by which they elect people to serve. And when I think about the current state of our political system today, I was at church last night, and the message was about faith. And I think when you think about when we send people to serve in public office, there's been a little bit, I think, of faith shaken in the public, especially in this office. As you begin to think about the politics has been plagued with ballot language. We need to restore the faith in the office of Secretary of State because it defends two sacred institutions, and that is fair elections and free enterprise. And as your Secretary of State, I will do exactly that. I will make sure that we look out for the voters, that when they go to the ballot box, first of all, they're going to have a fair ballot by which they understand the issue they're voting on, that they're also going to know that their identity is protected when they go to vote by continuing pursuing photo ID, and that when they make that decision to pursue their dream of opening up their own business, they're going to have as few fees and the infrequency of having to continue to pay those fees as possible. That's what I want to do for you as your Secretary of State. It is a great office by which you can serve the public. My current slogan, since I've been the representative, is working to serve you. I will continue to do that when elected to be the next Secretary of State for this great state of Missouri. As we talked about, thank you. You need to remember to pause, right? Exactly. That's good. But one of the issues that constantly I've heard, and we began to look at this earlier in the year, I had folks approach me and said, would you be interested in running for this office? So we began to pray about it. Mindy and I talked about it, and we began to make that move towards that direction. Now, obviously, Secretary Carnahan made the announcement a couple weeks ago that she intended not to run. That did speed up our timeline, but I'm excited to be in this race because one of the issues, and I've already mentioned it, is ballot language. This is the first administration that we are aware of where the court has actually overturned the ballot language written by a Secretary of State. We cannot have that continue. One of the reputations I've developed since being in public office is I'm someone who's fair. I'm a conservative that fights hard for the values that we all share here, but I also understand that we have to fight the battle fairly. We don't need an extra upper hand in order to win, because we know that when we go to the voters and we present our ideas, which protect free enterprise, they protect the American dream we believe in, we're going to win every day. And we will continue to do that in the office of Secretary of State. So it's important that we do that. And then secondly, voter ID. You can look at the organization Acorn. I'm sure you all have heard Acorn.
Yes.
Since the middle 80s, they have continued to commit voter fraud upon the residents of the state of Missouri. And I'm going to tell you that we're going to fight that. We understand we can't be everywhere at all places at all times. But when you go to the ballot box to vote and you have a simple photo ID that protects your identity, we know that they can no longer continue to impose voter fraud upon the voters of Missouri. So we think that is essential and that's important, and we're going to continue to push for that. We also understand that the Office of Secretary of State is very essential to the idea of free enterprise. For example, as I said earlier, when you go to file to open up your business, you go directly through the doors of Secretary of State. And so we want to continue to make sure that people have as easy access as possible. We want to look at maybe potentially lowering the fees and making sure that when they go to file for that, for example, I know Secretary Carnahan, I want to give a nod to her, she has lowered some of the fees. But I think with the modernization today of computers and the ability to jump online, there's also potential maybe you don't have to do that every year on an annual basis, that the only time you should have to go back is maybe on a 3 or 4 year period, or unless you decide to make a change in your business itself. So we're going to look at that, explore that as we're running for this office and get voter input on that. And then obviously the world of investments. A lot of folks don't understand that the Office of Secretary of State actually is, in my opinion, the watchdog for people who decide to invest in the world of the securities. And so if you go to make an investment, you want to make sure that you're making a safe investment. And if you have someone who's preying on those folks who go to put their hard-earned dollars into trying to maximize them through the investment community, that those dollars are going to be protected. And I can guarantee you that we're going to be more vigilant than ever and make sure that every dollar you invest is going to be protected. And so that's given an outline today for why I'm running. I want to appreciate everybody who's behind me, everybody who's before me. I want to let you know that we're going to work diligently every day to earn the votes across the state and make sure that people know that we're going to be there for them, and we're going to win this race with your support and their support. So thank you.